Hey everybody, it's Aaronator here. We got our 14th episode of our Vancouver Canucks GM mode commentary here on the PS4, guys. On the last episode, we went and finished up the 2017-2018 season, as you can see up there. That's the season we just had. And we finished 5th worst in the league. So we were basically the bottom of the Western Conference, I believe, bottom of our division. I mean, we had a stellar season. Like, it wasn't like we had 60, 70 points. We had 78 points, almost 80, so that's not horrible for a bad team. But it was a pretty strong year for a lot of other teams, and there were a couple teams that we could have had a loss near the end of the season. We did win our last game, so we could have been like we could have had a top 3 pick, or had a better chance to get a top 3 pick. But I mean, that's gonna happen, and I don't really care at this point. I don't really care where we place in the draft, as long as we draft well wherever we are. We need to be able to draft in any position. So I did look at guys that we need to sign, and guys that other teams need to sign, and there are some really big name centers. I'm just going to name the two, McDavid and Tavares, that could be available during free agency if Edmonton or the Islanders are very stupid. But we're just going to focus on what we have to do as of right now. There's not really any other teams. I was looking at Boston mainly because they had Bergeron, Krejci, and Matthews. Really, the only guy that would make sense for them is Krejci, because he's like $7 million, 32 years old for the next 4 more years, which it's not a horrible cap, but since they don't actually want to give him up, they're not in too much of a cap crunch right now. They'll have to sign Matthews next year. It doesn't make sense at this point for us to give up that much trade value for that guy. And he could drop. There's always that chance. And then when did you trade him for? Or why did you trade for him is basically what I'm trying to say. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go into the draft and see if we can draft ourselves a top-end player, whether it's defense or forward. I really just need, we need to get a 90-plus player right now, as soon as possible. That's the goal, because a 90-plus player will put us over the top and help us make the playoffs. I think that's really what we were missing last year, and that's what we're going to have to get this offseason. So let's just jump into the draft right now. Let's see, do we get a top 3 pick? And no, we do not. Buffalo gets the first overall pick, followed by Toronto and the Sharks. And then we have the Panthers, Hurricanes, and we dropped to 6. Of course we did. Out of all the places you could have dropped to, we were 5th. And wow, it takes that quick for Buffalo to pick. They get G. Neal, elite sniper. So we are not going to move up. Well, I mean, there's a chance we could move up, but I don't know who necessarily is available. So if there's someone that I see, maybe I'll move up to get him, because we do have another first-round pick. Joe Veleno is up there, so this is the Veleno year, and that he is a high overall player, and he's a center playmaker. Only thing is we have Brown. So what I do know is a lot of these players are like 4 green stars or something. So getting Joe Veleno might make the most sense. However, we have to move up to get him. So I would definitely have to give up both my first. Let's see if any of these teams are willing. Toronto does have a lot of players. Do they? Yes, they do. So maybe, just maybe, there might be a chance we could go after someone like this. They're probably looking for more of a roster player anyway. So we'll give up this. Maybe we can keep our first for this year. Give up a second. And I know that might go through, but let's see if there's like a roster player that they might want to take. Triamkin might have to go in there because we're getting a second overall pick. That might make sense. Edler for next year. We may be missing a defenseman, but Triamkin has been struggling lately. 3 more years at 3.5. Is this a 3.5 kind of guy? I mean, he's just not getting it done for us. So, you know what? I'm going to put Triamkin in this trade just for the potential aspect of getting a player like that. Maybe add in another one of these bottom 6 players. We can get in Giro. And let's see, there's Roberts, bottom 6. They're decent overall, so I think that's obviously going to be enough. I know you guys don't like these kind of trades, and don't worry, I'm not going to just make this trade straight up. We're going to look a bit more and see what we could potentially get. They really don't need Triamkin, so I think it makes more sense not to give him up. I'm gonna take a third because I think that's a bit more fair on their case, because they're not doing too much aside from unloading cap. Or not, they would be probably wanting to unload more cap, because the thing is with Joe Veleno, if he becomes a stud pretty quick, they'll have more cap problems later on. Getting depth players like this could be nice. They have a lot of centers. And you know what? I think it makes sense for both franchises. Hopefully this goes through, and I hope you guys understand the trade. And let's see if it goes through. And they are happy to accept the proposal on behalf of the Maple Leafs. They consider it a done deal. And that means we will get the top pick. I had never actually heard of Neil. He must have been an American guy. So, Buffalo passed up on the one and only player there. What was his name? Joe Veleno. And you look at his stats. I do know he's going to be like somewhere around 80 overall player. And there you go, medium elite. So we got an elite player. I probably, if I had to choose, it depends how good Neil is overall. I want more overall, but I know that Veleno's good, so hopefully you guys understand. Ludstrom was a 4 green star. Those kind of picks happen. We do have a lot of two-way forward centermen, and I think it was good. Brown is going to be nice along with Veleno, so hopefully we can get an elite player. So Toronto, they got a center in Zadina. They actually wanted him. Cochran would have been really nice, I'm going to say. As a two-way forward, a two-way defender, and I think he's going to be high overall, but Veleno also makes sense for us. So I think you guys understand, hopefully. Kruger there, elite goalie. Where's Toronto pick? We got to check out who they get at 22. So we have a second-round pick, and we have 2/3, I believe. So we may want to get another second-round pick, possibly, depending on if there's anybody else we see. Let's just check. Meyer, rest in peace, Columbus, for getting that kind of a pick. Same with Anaheim. Elite Strogren, good for Philly. Toronto, where's Toronto? Must have missed him. Stromberg, so not the greatest pick for them. So, and I don't see, unless we got that offensive defenseman, but we would have had to spot him. Okay, so let's draft with this pick. We're at 11 minutes. I'm sorry it took so long with that, guys. I wanted to think it through. I should have maybe skipped a bit of it, but I think we don't. You guys are okay with that, hopefully. Barch, the center grinder. There's a couple of goalies here. I don't really see much. I would even be willing to trade this pick if it meant getting a top line player. But this guy looks interesting. Mikhail Dansk. It says high bottom 6. There could be a chance he's a top 9 player. I like those stats, so I'm gonna get another center playmaker. We can always move to the wing. Low top 9. It's not great, because he could drop, but if he gets up there, I think his stats might show that he's a legit good prospect. So hopefully that was a nice pick for us. I didn't really see anybody on that list, anybody else on that list that could have needed to be that great, but or that was that great, but we'll have to see. Starter, like a lot even deeper. There was a couple 3.5 yellow kind of guys like that. Blomqvist, I think that's a good pick because. 3 green stars. Stevens isn't a bad one for Pittsburgh, but even the 3 green stars in this point in the draft, that's a very good pickup because green stars are more likely to boost up to like a top 9 player. And I've had in one of my side GM modes with New Jersey, I ended up drafting with like the 31st pick, like one of the first picks in the draft because we had a really bad year. In the second round, I drafted a guy who was 3 green stars. Right now, he's like 4.5 green stars, basically. So you can if you draft the green star players, AHL top 6 is sort of when it gets down there, but you really can draft some nice players if they're green stars. Oleg Burry, he has some 80s in there. I like the other guy, but he's a center playmaker, and Bure is 18 years old, has some nice stats, and it's Bure. So maybe the return of Pavel Bure, or the next Russian Rocket. Let's see what he's at. Low bottom 6. So he doesn't have the potential, it seems. Hansel, again, we did miss out on Hansel, but again, I mean, the other Hansel didn't want to sign. It didn't make sense for the other Hansel to sign with us. We don't need another center playmaker. Maybe Bure is the next thing. You never know. They can always boost up potential-wise. So that would be pretty cool to see Bure come back for the Canucks. So let's see. We got Bobik and Fedorov. It doesn't look like, Bobik we haven't scouted. Fedorov, he's from Russia. It looks like he has a hard shot. Well, actually, accurate shot at least. Blake Parent, 7th defenseman, has some higher ones. They're low, but they are in the 80s. So let's see. Howard, Chuck, Marchand, Spalling. Marchand, okay. Spalling has some good stats, but Nothing too great. Malkin, Andropov, this guy. Like, it's even good to even go deeper. Like, there's some 20 years old. I don't like the potential in his age, so 18 years old. 18 years old here. There's some good stats below, but AHL. So I'm looking at potential and overall stats. You got to look at them, especially in this year. You never know. There can be some good players. You either want a good potential or good overall. Because sometimes good overall, the closer they are to the NHL, the more likely they are to make it to the NHL. To 5th round, that's a bit beyond what we need to go with. I think there was 1 or 2 guys. I think Parent was pretty good. So we're going to go with Parent because I think he's like, he's 19 years old and he's high 70s. So maybe that's a good pick. We'll see. And we get a low top 6, so not too bad of a pick. I don't like the low potential in this draft. We have a lot of low potential guys. But I mean, there's a lot of low guys as you get on. Like, that's why green is so good, because they can get better. So we don't need to check out all the prospects for each draft. But after we're done the draft here, we'll probably go and do some of the signs, and because I have an idea of who needs to stay and who doesn't, and then we can look at free agents, and you guys can let me know about that. So I really don't see any prospects, so I would go with anybody that is, say, not from this place, but they're all from somewhere, like the CHL. But I wouldn't take that guy because he has a face. Anyone with a face is likely still from the CHL or creative player. So you know what? We might as well just go with like one of the Vancouver Giant players. There was a couple. There was Plouffe, and there was Semchuk. I don't see anything. I'd rather even just go and see what there is later on. Aubrey, that's not horrible, but I don't like that potential. Once again, Voldniak. Adam, again, it is a German. Nathan, I understand you'd want me to get him, but he's 20 years old. And is there anything here? Swedish, interesting guy there in Galvez. But you know what? Out of all the defensemen, or out of all the players, I want to take out this guy because I have seen him be 3.5 yellow stars. So that's the best one I have to go off the name. And we get 2.5 red star potential guy. So you know what? At this point in the draft, in year 3, there's really a bunch of the old CHL players that are like AHL garbage potential. It's horrible. So there's really no one. You have to go for guys from other leagues or with names that you actually recognize. So Sam Fields, Galvez. We could take a look at Galvez, but Don Dodge. That could be interesting. You know what? Let's go with that. Don Dodge from Norway. Dodging that puck. You don't dodge that puck, dude. You gotta save it. AHL start or whatever. Yeah, that's why he's probably not gonna be a great goalie. Nothing good here. There's really not much. And then we don't have a 7th round pick. That's okay. So we got some interesting names that we drafted, and we got Joe Veleno. So I think it was an okay draft. Joe Veleno. We do have a lot of centers now, but Veleno was the best pick we could get. I want to really check out. 80 overall. So. He won't be ready for the NHL because I recognize that a lot of those players. Can we sort by overall, please? Thank you. That would be very appreciated. Buffalo had one of the top picks. I want to see how Neil was. They have to sign Eichel and Reinhardt. Oh my gosh. But they're going to have Eichel, Reinhardt, and Neil. That's going to be interesting. I want to see what kind of overall he is. Supui. Any potential here? Neil, 70 overall. So he'll be a good player. Though that's some pretty good stats. So not too bad, but we definitely did get the better player. They're going to have some stacked forwards though in a couple of years. So let us go do signings. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to skip this part, and you guys will see what I've done afterwards. So I'll give you all the guys that I'm going to sign just in case I don't explain one afterwards, but I will let you know who I do and don't sign. So I could have just gone all expiring, but yeah, I'll do that. Oh, no, not UFAs, all expiring. So by overall, you can see right there the guys with overall and the guys with potential, and I'll show you guys afterwards who I do and don't sign. See you in a bit. Okay, guys, we are back, and we are going to now advance a day and see who I decided to keep on the team and who I decided to let go. So advance day, and you guys will see at least who I signed for now. And Stefan Matteau, Brock Besser, Thatcher Demko, Janik Hansen, Barchi, Jews, Subban, Castles, Grenier, VC, Musito Bagenda. I just had to keep him, just that name. Veleno, Olsen, Ruotsalainen, yep. All these stupid Finns, Vakanainen, and there you go. So anybody else was likely let go. A lot of the guys like Biega, and Larson I let go just because more of what their overall package. This guy, Chase Campbell, he's a bottom 6 player. He's just going to have a hard shot and be a fast skater, so I'm just going to let go of him for now. We don't need him at this point. Goalies, so you guys can see Demko I signed for a 2-year contract, basically a contract, so then by the time he's hopefully a starter, we can give him this big contract. Well, that's not a great idea, but he wanted 2 years, and I thought that made sense, as long as he wasn't going to be a UFA. No matter what, we can get him to that a level that he wants to be at just as much as we want to see him at. McBain, Schneider might have to be let go soon. He's just was there because remember John Gillies. So Edler, Goodbranson, Tanev, Triamkin, Liljegren. Looks like our top 6 can be very solid, with maybe Jews being a 7th defenseman or so, just because some of these guys, like when I boosted up their contract, they didn't want as much, or they may have wanted more. So I let go a lot of players based on that, but there's a lot of high 7th guys or high top 6 guys that I wanted to play, so I'm going to give a lot of them the chances, hopefully, and they may or may not grow. So that was probably not, I probably didn't need to sign all of them, but I wanted to keep them because they're still pretty young. So yeah, Vakinen as well, who should be playing. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, along with one of these defensemen being a 7th defenseman. The rest, Neil. Yeah, those are for the AHL, so we should be okay. Gerstensen doesn't need to be signed as of right now. Hansen, VC, Besser, Roden will be in the AHL as well, but Osmic might be in the NHL, I think. Roden was in the NHL for a chance, but the defensive category of Osmic and his potential and his poise, like there's lots to like about him. So I think Osmic will definitely have a spot, or have at least a chance to make a spot in the NHL, as well as Dorsett will be in the NHL, should be. Matteau and Barshi should be there for show me contracts, 4.5 and 3.5 respectively. Hopefully one of them, if not both of them, can become higher overall players, especially Barchi, because I like his stats, but he didn't want as much. Some of the contracts are weird, even though it says they're second liners. Could be just because of their stats. Horvat, Sutter, Castles, and Brown. Veleno will be in the CHL probably. If not, then the AHL. But yeah, he'll definitely be in the CHL. Even if he does get better by overall, he's definitely not ready for the NHL. It's not that like his stats are all solid like usual, but at this point we have a lot of centers, and he'd be better off in the where he deserves to be. A-Balls should be there next year. Gauntz, Zawiski, I was just showing you from that because of Veleno. Cliff Poo should hopefully get the chance to get better in the AHL. Moran will give him some more time. Dansk doesn't need to be signed yet. He's 20. Well, yeah, sure. You know what? We can give him time in like the top 9 or something, like the third line in the AHL or something. Hopefully, some of these guys can play the wing like Poo or Zawiski and or Gauntz. Yeah, we'll decide that when the season comes. But for now, I have looked at what our team could need, and really the only thing we need is possibly, if we want, we can get a goalie for one or 2 years. If we want, we can trade Markstrom now. That might be in our best interest to do that, so we can still have a chance if we need to get a goalie. If we can sign a goalie, that might be decent, and then maybe a top-end forward, because we do have a forward spot, and we could get either a depth guy or a legit, really good player. Dansk decides to sign. There you go. That's very nice. We'll advance days. We can send him to free agency, but I don't know. I just like individually doing it. I'm picky. Trade block, we can just make sure, yeah, it's not anything that big. I mean, doesn't matter. It's fine. The surplus will put those draft picks on there, but it's fine. Orlov is high elite, but he's 26 years old. Little, Hornquist, that's Morale, definitely. David Backus, 1 year. That might be not a bad pick. Not great. He's still top 6. He could be top 9, and he is a second line forward, but we'll have to see. Anybody first line or second line by rule. So it looks like Kucherov signed back in with his old team. There's a couple of depth guys here that could be filled in nice roles, depending because of their past. But it doesn't look like there's any top end forwards that we could sign. Maybe Hornquist. I'm not sure if he'd stay like that, and I'm not sure if we'd want him. Backus may be smarter because he wants 1 year. And then goalies, great. There is literally no one. Boston decided and managed to keep Rask. And that means that there's no Rask, there's no Tavares, and there's no McDavid. Darn it. Oh, that's not great. Enstrom, Green. Yeah, there's really nothing good here that we could use. Hansel. There's no one. There's no legit players. We need to trade. We need to make trades, unfortunately. And with getting Veleno, it wasn't a really high-end overall prospect. But, oh, man. Girard, we could try signing that guy. And or Bitten. That's kind of unfortunate. I was hoping that there would be more. Gravel, we could sign for depth. Uher, fourth liner. It's really just depth this year, guys. It's not... darn it. I was hoping on something or someone coming that we could try and sign, but we don't even get the chance. Darn it. That's annoying. That's actually really not good. There's some goalie prospects here. Hart, Fitzpatrick, and Gustafson. So we could sign one of them if we want, but... I mean, does it make that much sense? Grummetbauer, that sounds like German, Nathan, so maybe you want us to sign him. We do have a high French guy in McBain as well, so we really don't need to sign anybody, and that is really it. So that's kind of unfortunate. There's no really big goalies or big forwards. I could just go to the start of the season, and you know what? I probably will by next episode. We will definitely get a month in or so, hopefully. You guys can let me know lines as well, along with if there's any potential free agent signs you could you think I should get. What could be missing? We could use a forward, because I don't think Brown or Sutter will be able to handle that second or first line. But we have a problem, guys. We don't have a top end player yet. We drafted a guy who could be, but we are going to have some issues here. So, we need to make the playoffs. Guys, I need your help. Please let me know what you guys think we should do for signing. Prospects, guys in roles, like what do we need to sign? Who do we need to sign to get this team back into the playoffs? It has to happen, guys. If we miss the playoffs in this next year, I might stop. I don't know. I mean, Joe Veleno and all that could be, but I'd like to go 5 years. We'll have to see, though. We're going into, I believe, year 4, and we'll have to see if we can make it back into the playoffs. So anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.